I have a special announcement. Many of you know that a few years ago, I created a fakemon series called Pokemon Cardinal that took you through a new Pokemon region that I created and played out the story of a hypothetical game in video form, complete with new Pokemon, characters, and even voice acting. Well, I am happy to announce that I've got another similar sort of project in the works now called Pokemon Crimson and Ivy. In general, this will be the same sort of thing that Pokemon Cardinal was, just in a little bit more of a condensed form, but the premise is something that I am really excited about exploring, and that is what the Generation 10 Pokemon games could be like. Since 2024 is an off year for Pokemon, and 2025 will likely just have Pokemon Legends ZA to speak of, it seems like that we're probably not going to be seeing Generation 10 until 2026, which also coincides with the franchise's 30th anniversary, which means that we've got some time between now and then to speculate what it could be like. So Pokemon Crimson and Ivy will be showcasing a concept for what the Gen 10 games could be like when they eventually get here, and more or less what I would do with them if I was in the director's chair. This video, in addition to this announcement, is also going to provide you with a sneak peek at the series by revealing what the starter Pokemon are for Pokemon Crimson and Ivy. And there's also a surprise at the end of this video as well, so stay tuned for that. With that said, however, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So as we embark on this fun new series, I would also like to say that if you like this kind of content, a great way to help support it and make it happen is by picking up my Folkachi plushie. This little guy is my mascot and comes straight out of my videos, and he makes for a super adorable and high quality plush. Not to mention that when you pick one up, you also get this free promo card of Folkachi from the upcoming Histrobi Chronicles TCG that I'm working on. This card looks absolutely amazing, and you also won't be able to get it anywhere else as it'll only be made available through this promo. You can pick one of these plushes up and get the card along with it at histrobishop.com with the link in the description below. And if you enjoy my content and the bigger productions like this that I put together, this is a great way to help make that content happen, which really makes a big difference and is super appreciated. So give that a look and pick up a plush with the link below, and now let's go ahead and get back to the video. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and reveal the starter Pokemon of Pokemon Crimson and Ivy. Meet Pupperoot, Snakindle, and Totrot. These are the three Pokemon that you will have to choose from when starting your adventure in the region of Pokemon Crimson and Ivy. These starters are also special because, as I said, they're not just random ones that I've come up with for the purpose of some random video. I've created them with a thought of what the Gen 10 starters could actually be like when they are eventually revealed somewhere down the road. And while they might not end up anything like this whatsoever, these guys were made with that idea in mind. When it comes to discussing these three, however, I don't want to give up too much about them or the series and spoil anything, but with that in mind, I will say that the way I landed on these three designs in particular was because I made them as sort of an indirect callback to the Generation 1 starters, since the Gen 10 games, once again, are likely going to be coming out during Pokemon's 30th anniversary and are possibly going to do some celebratory stuff like this. It's been mentioned by Game Freak that Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle were all designed around animals that you could have as pets, and in particular that young kids could have as pets, to fit in with the idea of young Pokemon trainers taking care of them in very much the same way. So, a pet theme is also what the starters of Pokemon Crimson and Ivy use as well, as they are all based around animals that are commonly seen as pets. Pupperoot is a dog, Snakindle is a snake, and Totrot is a horse. Looking at Pupperoot in particular, it also has some additional inspirations that helped to form its design as well. Obviously, with a pet theme, a dog was a super easy choice. And one thing that kinda sealed the deal for me with this is that we haven't really had a dog starter to this point, which is super crazy. Yeah, Fennekin does exist, but it's more like a fox, so a true dog starter Pokemon is uncharted territory, and frankly, it definitely needs to happen, especially since we've also had a couple of cat starters to this point as well. Pupperoot was also inspired by a fakemon design that I did for another video as well, where I created a convergent Pokemon of Swirlix. I made it into a grass type based on the Cotton de Tulare breed of dog, who are known and named for their cotton-like coats. So I made it into a literal cotton dog that's a grass type, and I really liked that idea a lot, to the point where I decided to rip myself off and use it as the basis for a brand new original Pokemon, which became the grass type starter, Pupperoot. With a dog chosen for the first starter though, that set the stage for where I could go with the next two starters. I think variety is an essential thing to have in any group of starters, so I thought that whatever the fire starter was going to be, for example, that it needed to be something that had a lot of contrast when sitting side by side with a dog starter. And that is where Snekindle came into the picture. Snekindle is obviously a snake, who are not only fairly commonly kept as pets, but they also just so happen to be a member of the Chinese zodiac as well, so it worked perfectly as the basis for my fire starter. And while yes, Fuecoco is now a thing, and it's obviously based on a crocodile, who aren't a part of the Chinese zodiac, which means that fire starters could theoretically be based on anything going forward at this point, and not just the Chinese zodiac, the whole Chinese zodiac thing was definitely a thing that was happening prior to Generation 9, at least in my own opinion anyway. So I don't think it hurts at all to go back to it either in the next generation, and since it also works with the pet theme too, I felt like it was a good way to go. Snekindle also has a ton of other stuff going on with its design as well, but I can't give that away quite yet, as those details are going to be factoring into its evolutions, so you'll just have to wait and see what this little guy is all about once Pokemon Crimson and Ivy premieres later this year. So, at the risk of saying too much, that makes it a good time to pivot and talk about the water starter of this trio, Tawtrot. Tawtrot was the final member of this group that came together, and as I was contemplating and kinda struggling to figure out what pet-based animal would make a good inspiration for this Pokemon that could complete this trio in the best way possible, I eventually came to the idea of a horse, and I knew immediately that it would be a great fit. The reason why I thought of a horse in the first place was because as a water type, I thought of the pun of it being a sea horse, except in a more literal sense. I thought that that would not only be a fun starting point for a design, but would also give me some justification as to why this Pokemon is a water type, which can be a bit tricky with water starters since they also need to be the kind of Pokemon that can realistically live on land as well, which is a trait that all of the water starters to this point have had. So since this concept checked off that box, as well as the whole pet idea, that kind of sealed the deal for me on it being what I decided to go with. And then from there, its overall design and concept began to grow and develop as well. But again, that is something that will come later with its evolutions. One thing I will say about its design though is that it takes its regular horse features and blends them in with some actual seahorse features as well, to help that side of its inspiration shine, and also to help this Pokemon feel and look all the more unique, which is another reason why I really liked this concept. I also really liked how these Pokemon's names turned out as well, as they are all pretty straightforward and easy to understand, but also all sound cute and well put together in my opinion, which is especially key for starter Pokemon. Pupperoot simply comes from pupper and root, alluding to its grass type. Snekindle comes from snek and kindle, alluding to its fire type. And Totrot comes from tot, alluding to this Pokemon's young and smaller stature. And Trot, referring to its horse inspiration. So these three are who you will have to choose between when Pokemon Crimson and Ivy premieres on my channel later this year. And as I mentioned, there is a lot more to them that I can't say here, so you will definitely want to tune in once the series goes live to find out what they will become. I'm currently still working on stuff for all the videos I have planned for this series, but it shouldn't be too long of a wait either before they start premiering, because I'll definitely be going live with the first episode sometime later this year, and then the rest of the episodes will come out at a steady pace from there. There is one more surprise I wanted to mention about this series, however, before we end off. So, with that said, go ahead and please take a look at this. Along with the excitement that will be exploring what the Gen 10 Pokemon games could be like in Pokemon Crimson and Ivy, I am excited to announce that you'll also get to see some of these designs come to life in my very own monster-catching video game, Histrobi Chronicles. The idea is that once we've had fun with them in this series, I'll take some of these original designs and put them into my game, so that they can appear in an actual game and you'll be able to recruit, battle, and befriend them as Histrobi once the game is eventually released. To start, Pupperoot, Snekindle, and Totrot will all be included in the game, and as episodes of Pokemon Crimson and Ivy premiere, I'll also be showing which Mons will be making the jump to Histrobi Chronicles. And who knows, you may even have the chance to vote on which Mons you would like to see included in the game as well. So I hope you will look forward to this and will tune into this new series to see and follow all of its exciting developments. I would also like to give a shout out to all of the artists that I've been working with that have helped to make all of this stuff a reality. You can check them all out with the link in the description box below, and I very highly recommend you do so because they obviously do amazing stuff. Also, one more time, if you like what you see here and would like to further support this project, a great way to do so is by picking up a Folkachi plush at histrobishop.com with the link in the description. You also get that free promo card with it as well, and it's honestly one of the best ways to support these kinds of projects. Not to mention that both the plush and the card are awesome and super high quality, so be sure to give it a look if you can. With that said, I'll see you guys soon with another new video. I will keep you posted on the premiere of this series. Thanks so much for watching as always, I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.